Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again on this Saturday morning for some more stories right here on Thailand Bound. The 4 stories I'm going to read out today are real stories sent in by listeners, and I'm happy to say that these 4 stories are brand new to my channel. I don't think they've been read out on other channels, but they're certainly brand new to my channel. Before I start with the first of 4 stories today, I'd just like to sincerely thank everyone who wished me all the best. I had a bit of a cancerous lump on my cheek. Nothing to really worry about it. It was the cancer with less than 1% chance of spreading, and I caught it early, and I made a little video about it, a couple of videos actually, shorts, and I had a lot of people send me their best wishes and wish me luck with it and everything. So to all those guys, all those people who did, thank you very, very much. It's much appreciated, and yeah, I'm on the mend now. Everything's good. Okay, let's jump into the first of 4 stories this morning.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Hi Peter, I love to listen to your stories every Saturday. I just got back from Thailand after my last visit in 2024. I thought that this would be my last visit due to my age, which means less action in the aerobics department. However, it crept into my mind that I would love to do a farewell tour, visiting all the places I loved in Bangkok and Pattaya. I first went to Thailand in 2020, just before the pandemic hit. I was fortunate to return to Australia before the border was closed. I stayed in Bangkok on Sukhumvit Soi 4 and in Pattaya. I had a lovely time there with lots of aerobics, but all pay for play. I then went to Phuket in June 2022 for 2 weeks after the ban was lifted. I wanted to see what Thailand was like after the pandemic. Phuket was just okay. I didn't enjoy the nightlife as much as I did in Pattaya, and Phuket is more expensive than Bangkok and Pattaya regarding drinks, food and girls. With one girl, I went for lunch before going to my hotel room. She ordered lots of food only to ask for a doggy bag to take it away. This, from my perspective, is an additional indirect charge. She was quite upset when she called the next day and I declined to meet her again. However, later on, I learnt that this behaviour is quite common in Thailand. In 2023, I went twice to Bangkok and Pattaya. On my 5th trip to Thailand in 2024, I stopped in Bangkok and Pattaya for a few days as a stopover en route to Europe. I did the same on my way back after 3 months in Europe. I enjoyed breaking up the long-haul flights to Europe and back to Australia. On my recent farewell trip, I flew Scoot in their Scoot Plus class, which is basically premium economy from Sydney to Singapore and then to Bangkok, for less than £600 or $750 for a return trip in a sort of premium economy class. You can't complain about that. The service, of course, was bare bones. The only bad thing is that they fly at strange times and you always have to lay over in Singapore for 5 hours. I have a limo service charging 1,000 baht from the airport to Pattaya or 1,200 baht to Bangkok Soi 4 from Pattaya. I'm always wondering how they make money considering the toll, fuel, etc. The car is very nice, upmarket Camry in Pattaya. I usually stay at a hotel on Beach Road, a 5-minute walk to Walking Street. This time I was shocked by how empty Pattaya was. I arrived on a Tuesday and went at night for a meal at the beer garden. It was fairly empty. Then I usually have a few beers at an outside bar in the middle of Walking Street. I noticed a lot of new businesses that weren't there the last time I was there, or they just changed the outside appearance. In the outside bar, I was the only guest. In Thai news shows on YouTube, they talk about it, but I had no idea it was this bad. Only the freelancers. In Bangkok, I stayed as usual at a nice hotel on Soi 4 with easy access to Sukhumvit Road and Benjikiti Park. My favourite restaurant on Sukhumvit Road, Ari Seafood Sukhumvit, and I like to have a good draft Chang beer at the beer garden in Nana Plaza. I enjoyed my farewell trip very much. I am now 74 and call it quits with pay for play. I never had any problem with the girls. Some I threw out, but I always paid them. I also had my fair share of ladyboys turn up. Whenever I found out, I paid them and I told them to go. There was never a problem. On one occasion, a ladyboy bolted while I was in the shower. I was more relieved that he didn't take anything except for the agreed upon money. I have been living happily on my own for over 20 years, and I have never had the desire to find a Thai partner or look for love. I got most of the girls from Thai Friendly and the odd one from Beach Road. I never paid a bar fine. At the end, I had a pool of girls I could go back to, either in Bangkok or in Pattaya. The good thing with these girls is that I could leave my wallet on the table and never have any money missing. I always wore protection, so I never had any health issues. For convenience, I always purchased insurance when travelling to Thailand. Fortunately, I never had to use it. I don't regret anything that I did or that happened to me in Thailand. The only thing I regret is not going there earlier in my life. Right now, I enjoy what Sydney and Australia have to offer, like daily walks, a beer here and there with friends, etc. Also, I am going back to Europe every other year, using Bangkok or Singapore as a stopover. So, in a nutshell, I'm pretty happy with my retirement life. Okay, so he had the right attitude, the way he handled things, didn't he? But he did bring up a very common scam there that you should be aware of if you haven't heard about this. So if you date a Thai girl from a bar, for instance, you just take a girl from a bar, you like her, and you invite her for lunch or dinner, and then suddenly she's ordering many, many dishes of food, but she's hardly touching it. Up to sort of 10 plates of food. It's ridiculous. And what happens is, obviously you end up paying for it. That is a real red flag, because she's basically ripping you off. Because what they'll do, those sort of girls who do that, they order all these plates of food, they hardly touch it, they get it bagged up to take home, and they share it with their roommates, and they all do it. And if they do that regular, they're always going to have a free pool of food, haven't they? So if you're with a girl on a date and she starts acting like that, buying lots of food, I would just go up to the cashier, pay for your bill, and let her pay for the 10 plates of dishes that she's ordered. Teach her a lesson. Right. Okay, let's go into story number 2. My story is a little different from the usual bar girl horror stories that I have heard about through your channel and other channels. However, thanks to my research, I was quite well versed in how to handle the various situations that foreigners can be in on visits to Thailand, and I thought to paint a detailed picture for you. A little about me. I'm a Sri Lankan 41-year-old in December 2023, not particularly tall at 175 centimetres and on the heavy side at 100 kg. But I do not resemble the average Sri Lankan man. My skin tone is on the lighter side of brown, with a salt and pepper French beard. Physically, I look Mediterranean, and I am regularly asked if I am Greek, Italian, Turkish or Lebanese. I've never been married before. My story started when I met this Thai lady on the Bumble app. The app had unlocked travel mode to users periodically during the COVID pandemic, and I was swiping on profiles in Thailand. Having transported my profile to Bangkok, I used the free services of the app, so travel mode was only active for a couple of months as a special. We were chatting via the app for a few months and eventually switched to Instagram and WhatsApp. Occasionally, we would have calls. Far was very pretty in her photos, had a college education, spoke very good English, and claimed that she owned a shop selling women's clothing and accessories at the Pattaya night market. She said she was 40 years old, but I did not believe her, since she could easily pass for 28 to 30. I also knew she had a mother and 3 sisters who lived outside Greater Bangkok, but she had moved to Pattaya to start her business some years ago. In October 2023, a friend of mine from Switzerland messaged me about her plans to visit Vietnam, Cambodia and Thailand in December, and asked if I was interested to join. Due to work, I could only take 2-week trip, so it was decided that I would join her in Bangkok for the last few days of her trip before she flew back to Switzerland on January the 1st, 2024. I wrote to Far about this and told her I would fly into Bangkok and come directly to Pattaya on Christmas Day, then leave Pattaya to join my other friend in Bangkok on the 29th. Far helped me find a hotel in central Pattaya. She even visited the hotel to check out the facilities and asked for a special price. But since it was high season, the price was expensive. Still, it was the best deal I could find, and it was close to Tree Town and the night market where she had her shop. She also advised me to use the Bolt app from Bangkok Airport and even offered to pick me up from the bus station in her car. In the meantime, my mother had asked me to find a Malaysian 3-in-1 coffee that she liked. Far found it online, ordered 4 packets, and then delivered them to her rented room in Pattaya. On the day of my flight, I found it was delayed by 8 hours. Instead of arriving at 6 a.m., I would land at 1 p.m., meaning I would get to Pattaya around 4 to 5 p.m. in the evening. Far was still awake when I told her and said she would meet me at the hotel. She even volunteered to pay for my taxi, but luckily I had enough baht left from a previous trip. I prefer cash over cards when travelling because of scams. True to her word, she arrived at the hotel just as I got out of the taxi. She looked beautiful, just like her photos. We hugged, checked in, she inspected the room and even tipped the bellhop before I could reach my wallet. Then she walked with me to exchange money and buy some snacks. I told her I needed a shower and a nap, so she said she would return after closing her shop at around 10 p.m. I woke earlier than expected and messaged her. Then walked to her shop to see her before closing. She had already picked out some baseball caps for me from her friend's store. Soon after she closed, we went to Tree Town for food, then collected her car from Central Mall and took a short drive before going back to the hotel. Aerobics with Far was great, and after a restful sleep, she drove me to Pattaya, lookout point for the breakfast. Afterwards, she went to work while I told her I would visit some bars in the evening and meet her again at 10 p.m. After gym, sauna and swim, I went to a few bars around Tree Town and Soi Chayapun. I made it clear to the bar girls I wasn't interested in taking anyone because I had someone to meet later. It was still fun playing pool and chatting. Then I met Far at 10 p.m. She took me by BART bus to the Runway Street food market. I bought dinner while she got drinks and refused to take any money for them. Later, she told me the coffee packets had arrived and cost 1,000 baht. She refused to accept my money until I insisted. She also said she would take a full day off to spend with me. I felt guilty because it was high season, but she insisted. We walked on Beach Road talking about life in Pattaya and how people depend on tourists. That night, we had more aerobics and sleep. The next day, I went on a pub crawl in the afternoon, then met her at sunset at the Hilton rooftop bar before joining the crawl again. Later, we had dinner with live music before going back to the hotel. Friday was my last full day. She went to collect clothes and the coffee packets, then introduced me to her best friend who owned a coffee shop. Afterwards, we drove to Jomtien and then to a local seafood market where I was the only foreigner. We ate grilled seafood and fried fish with Chang beer. On the way back, she stopped for gas and again refused my offer to pay. That afternoon, as we lay in bed, I thanked her for making my trip so memorable. She then asked if I wanted to try a soapy massage. I told her no because I was happy with her and only wanted a proper Thai massage without extras. So she took me to a place she trusted where I got a fantastic 1-hour massage from a trained masseur. Later over dinner, I raised the idea of a relationship. She said she also enjoyed my company and would love more, but we both knew a long-distance relationship would not work out. So we agreed to stay friends and keep in touch. She had booked my taxi to Bangkok and even paid for it, but I insisted on reimbursing her 1,400 baht. The next morning, we had breakfast together and she stayed with me until the taxi came. I felt sad leaving as she waved with her bright smile. She told me about the struggle since COVID, but also her determination to stay afloat with loyal customers. She was tough and resilient, and I found it refreshing to speak with someone educated with a good head on her shoulders. I was glad to have met Far, who was nothing like the Pattaya horror stories. I have kept in touch and even visited her again 6 months later. This time, we drove outside the city to an elephant sanctuary, temples, and even tried go-karting, where she took photos and videos of me. Unfortunately, with work, I could not return until July 2025. This story is still ongoing. Far and I remain in contact, but she has started to distance herself, saying she's not right for me, that I should find somebody younger to marry and have a family with, and that she is too old to have children. Who knows what the future holds, but I will always remember what we shared together. So, it is always possible to find a diamond in the rough. And by her asking him to look for another woman and he should be raising a family. In my opinion, I think that's her kind of testing him. You know, she's with this guy, she obviously likes him, and depending on his answer, maybe that would make her decide whether he's worthwhile pursuing. But the fact that she didn't want to see him for after a while, it was the contact was getting less and less. Maybe she found somebody else that was more. There was more prospect to a long-term relationship. We'll never know. That's just me guessing. We can all have opinions, right? Okay, let's get into story number 3. My story is not your usual bar girl story. It's about me as an expat seriously considering if I should move here long term. I thought I would spend at least 6 months to a year here to evaluate if Thailand was the right retirement option for me. This is what I have found out so far and may help people considering retiring here. Thailand is not like your own country. The government, the people, the culture, and the whole system are totally different and can work actively against you as a foreigner. There are a lot of things you need to consider before you decide to move to Thailand permanently. I thought of myself as a bit of an expert on Thailand as I have been coming to Thailand since 2007 and have been more than 37 times. I have been married to a Thai woman for the past 18 years and I have 3 Thai stepchildren. We have a house in rural Thailand, 3 hours north of Bangkok, and a condo in Bangkok. I have the government-issued pink Thai ID and the yellow Tabian Ban or house book. I have Thai car and a motorbike licenses and 2 Thai bank accounts. I kidded myself I was almost Thai. Boy, was I wrong. I'm a foreigner, a Farang, and I will always be a Farang in Thailand, no matter how long I live here. I was rudely awakened to this fact when I was forced to leave Thailand and go overseas, as immigration would not allow me to apply for a marriage visa inside Thailand and said I had to apply from overseas as my current visa only had 30 days validity left. I flew to Malaysia and submitted an application online to the Thai embassy in Kuala Lumpur. I thought I would get my visa relatively quickly as I have previously applied for O visas in Thailand before and received them that same day at immigration offices in rural areas. After a week, I did not have my visa, so I thought I would call the Thai embassy and see if I could hurry things along. Wrong. I was told in no uncertain terms that my visa was one of 100 applications they had, and no, I could not come to the embassy in person. A few days later, I was emailed to provide more information, namely bank account details. I sent my Thai bank account that showed I had over 100,000 baht income coming in every month. I thought that would be fine, as the Thai immigration website states that 65,000 baht is sufficient income. Wrong. I was requested by email to provide an account with 400,000 baht in it. I then sent my Australian bank accounts that had a substantial amount in them, plus the Australian equivalent of 150,000 baht income every month, to which immigration replied, send a Thai account with at least 400,000 baht in it. I did not want to take money out of my Australian bank accounts and send it to Thailand, as I was probably only going to stay for a few more months anyway. Plus, I had clearly demonstrated that I had exceeded their monthly income requirements, so I did not need to have 400,000 baht wasting away in Thailand not generating income. I decided to fly to Thailand and get another 60-day tourist visa and repeatedly for a marriage visa in Thailand shortly after I arrived. Big mistake. When I arrived at Dong Muang airport, I was detained by immigration as they did not like that I was trying to enter Thailand a second time in 12 months on a tourist visa. They asked why I was coming to Thailand again this year. I told them my Thai wife, who lived with me in Australia, was visiting her family here and I wanted to join them. Immigration said, you should have a marriage visa. I said, exactly. Why do you think I went to Malaysia in the first place? To get a marriage visa. That is why they asked why I did not have a marriage visa, and I explained the embassy was insisting on a 400,000 baht lump sum in my Thai bank account instead of considering a monthly income as it was stipulated on their website. Then things took a turn for the worse, and the immigration officer started becoming aggressive and argumentative, saying that he did not believe I was married to a Thai. I showed him my Thai marriage certificate. He did not believe it. He then asked in Thai, where are you staying? I said, Ban Mer, mother's house. This infuriated him even more. He said, "I think you're living in Thailand because you know Thai." I said, "No, I'm visiting Thailand. I live in Australia. I know some Thai because I have lived with my Thai wife and Thai stepkids in Australia for 18 years, and they speak Thai all the time, so I have learned a lot of Thai." Immigration then asked to see my Tabian Ban house registration, which I showed them. They did not believe it. I showed them my pink Thai ID. They did not believe that either. I showed them a copy of my wife's Thai ID, which they also did not believe. I called my wife and asked her to speak to immigration on my behalf. They spoke to her, and then they asked her to send a copy of her Thai ID. Then they demanded a complete and a signed statement detailing why I came to Thailand and how much money I had in my bank. Finally, after about an hour, I was allowed to leave, but I was told they would refuse my entry into Thailand if I came back without a marriage visa. I have since learned that Thai immigration is scrutinizing marriage visas very carefully, as they have discovered quite a number of sham marriages being used to gain long-term visas in Thailand. Hence my treatment at the airport began to make sense. I know people who have had immigration come to their house to check on their marital status. They also have to submit pictures of themselves inside and outside their houses every 90 days. The marriage visa process requires immigration to take statements from neighbours about the couple's marriage. I have been told that it is easier to apply for a retirement visa rather than a marriage visa, as it is a lot less paperwork, as it basically only requires a confirmation of 800,000 baht in your account and not having to prove an ongoing relationship or statements from your neighbours. It does not matter what visa you have. The visa situation is an absolute nightmare. The DTV visa has not been the saviour. A lot of people thought it would be, as it is problematic to open a bank account with it, as it is considered a tourist visa. My second awakening relates to the Thai banking system. I needed to replace an ATM card, so I went to my Thai bank and they asked for my Thai marriage certificate, my house registration, my Thai ID for foreigners, my passport, my phone number to be linked to my account, and then all the same information from my Thai wife. Just to get an ATM card for an account that I have had for 15 years. Many foreigners are now having their Thai bank accounts frozen until they can provide documentation and can prove that they have a long-term visa, not a tourist visa. I now fear that my Thai bank account could be closed or frozen whenever the Thai government or Thai banks feel like it, and it makes me question my long-term security in Thailand, especially now there are restrictions on the amount you can transfer, sometimes as low as 50,000 baht, 2,500 Australian dollars. For people who are 65 years or older, some banks are requiring facial recognition for larger amounts. My third red flag was when I tried to buy my own condo in Bangkok. I had everything the land office wanted: my Thai ID, my passport, my Thai house registration, my Thai bank account statement, proof of the purchase funds coming from Australia, copies of the money being transferred into my Wise account, and the money being transferred into my Thai account. Unfortunately, this was not enough for the land office, and they insisted on a letter from my Thai bank stating the transfer came from overseas. I could not obtain this letter for a few days, so we had to put the condo solely in my wife's name, as we wanted to complete the purchase that day. I really wanted to have some property in Thailand in my own name so I could show indisputable proof of a residence to immigration, and I would not have to rely on anybody else. Another factor that influenced my decision was talk of Thai property ownership being considered as a future criteria for maintaining a Thai bank account. My fourth red flag was when we went to the immigration office where our house is located to update my address from my TM30 form. Immigration refused to accept that I lived there, as the house was in my mother-in-law's name. As this property was purchased when we were in Australia, we had no option but to put it in my wife's mother's name. Immigration said that as my mother-in-law already owns a house elsewhere in Thailand, she can only register one as her primary residence. She cannot have two house registrations, so I can only stay at my mother-in-law's house in the other city, which is 100 kilometers away, as that address is the one on my Thai house registration book. So now we have the absurd situation that I cannot legally live in either the house or the condo that I paid for. We are going to change our house to my wife's name this month, and this should fix our problem, as I will then be able to change the address on my house registration book. But as it is currently stands, I cannot legally reside in either property I paid for according to immigration. My fifth warning sign came when I befriended a Thai nurse and she showed me the aged care facility she managed. One of the residents was an American. He has lived in Thailand for over 20 years and his Thai wife had looked after him in her little village, but now she was in her late 60s and was not far off needing care herself. She could not manage his multiple health conditions or was physically strong enough to help move him. So she had no option but to put him in a nursing home, even though she did not want to. Also, she could not drive, so could not get him to the hospital quickly if she needed to. Unfortunately for him, the only people who can speak English at this aged care facility are two Thai nurses who only have basic English skills. He also has to eat Thai food all the time as there is no Western food available on this site. The couple cannot afford to move back to America or move to Bangkok or Chiang Mai to reside in a more foreign-friendly care facility. I feel so sorry for this gentleman, and it has made me think what my future would look like here in Thailand if I needed aged care later on. Your health is a vital factor when considering your long-term ability to stay in Thailand. If you have an OA visa, you must have health insurance. The problem is, if you are 70 or over, it gets more expensive and harder to obtain health insurance, particularly with pre-existing illness. And what cover is available reduces considerably. What do you do if you have a major health problem and your health insurance will not cover it, especially if it is going to be a long-term issue? I would recommend people come here for a year first before they make their decision and really consider all the factors that could affect them if they choose to move to Thailand permanently, as you are and always will be an outsider in this country. Thailand is a great place to visit, but visiting is not the same as living here. If you are looking for a stress-free retirement, Thailand is really not the place. I see my own country in a whole new light, and it is where I will be retiring. Well, quite frankly, when I read this story before I read it out, I have to read the stories, maybe edit them a bit. I felt quite depressed at the end of it. It was a very, very depressing story. But then I kind of dissected it in my head. And I think a lot of the problems that he describes in this story were of his own making. For instance, it's common knowledge, actually, that if you're in a marriage and you have a marriage visa, you have to have 400,000 baht in your bank account. Now, the way he's explained it in this story, he didn't know that. He should know that. And lots of other things. The things about, only allowing you to transfer 50,000 baht, that's a little bit misleading as well, because that's when they freeze your bank account. So the only reason they've stopped tourists opening bank account is because a couple of these, these people who scam cryptocurrency, they opened a couple of tourist accounts in Pattaya. They transferred a large amount of cryptocurrency into this bank account, and Bangkok kind of basically knocked it on the head and said, right, that's it, tourists aren't opening bank accounts. And all they did, they're not taking people's money. They just wanted people to go along to the bank and prove they're on a long-term visa. They own the phone number that they use, and then they would open the bank account again. And this 50,000 baht maximum transfer, that was only in place while they froze the bank account, until you went to the bank and kind of sorted it all out. There's just a lot of things in there that I think there was a lot of problems. I agree with a lot of what he said, about the retirement. You've got to think about your health, long-term and health insurance and everything. But I think a lot of the problems in this particular story, he actually made himself just because he didn't gain the knowledge. He didn't really research it. Had he researched it before he'd gone off to Malaysia and got all the facts straight, I don't think he would have had all of those problems. The easier option, the marriage visa is quite restrictive. Perhaps in some cases it's better to get a retirement visa. It's 800,000 in the bank. You report online every 3 months. And how humiliating for your neighbours to have to report on your life. You know, you're living on a street as a married couple, nobody else's business, but yet your neighbours, immigration go and visit your neighbours to take statements to see if you really live together. I mean, that is very, very humiliating in my mind. Now, just to end this little bit of a ramble, what I would say, this is why I always recommend going along to see a visa agent. Yes, you pay money, but they're experts at what they do. There's going to, had he gone to a visa agent, I recommend Mark at One Stop Visa, who's located in Soy 6 in Pattaya. There's a link in the description. They're very, very good. They sort everybody's visa out. Had he gone to somebody like Mark, he wouldn't have had his problems. Okay, I'll end it there, and we'll go into our fourth and final story today. I have been watching your channel for the last couple of years. I thought I would send you some of my experiences with Thai bar girls, but this was a long time back. Please don't use my name, thanks. I first came to Thailand in 1990. I was working in the oil fields of the Middle East and was working on rotation. 6 weeks at work and 4 weeks off. The company paid during my vacation and also paid for my airfare to wherever I was going on leave. When I was deciding to come to Thailand for the first time, a work colleague said, "Be careful, because if you go there, you will never want to go anywhere else." Well, he was right. And that first trip here was the first of more than 100 trips to Thailand. I retired in 2016, so 25 years of coming to Thailand 5 times a year. My first trip, I arrived in Bangkok without any sort of real plan. I arranged a hotel and taxi from one of those travel desks that they used to have on arrival at Dong Muang Airport. I don't remember now the name of that hotel, but it was pretty nice. Probably a 4-star. The travel desk also offered a tour of Bangkok. I arrived in the early morning but told the desk that I would be interested to go in the afternoon as I needed some sleep. So I checked into the hotel and crashed, and a few hours later the phone rang and it was a tour guide from the lobby saying my tour was waiting. I thought I was going to be getting on a bus with a bunch of gawking tourists, but when I got down to the lobby it turned out it was a personal, me-only tour. There was a driver, a cute Thai girl, as my guide, and me. The car was one of those Toyota Crowns that was very popular back then, with dodgy air conditioning. Anyway, she took me to a couple of jewellery clip joints, of course, but I didn't buy anything. She asked what I wanted to do, and I told her I really wanted a massage. So she took me to a soapy massage place and explained how it worked. She told me that her and the driver would wait for me. Wow, it was like an hour or an hour and a half at the window, so many pretty girls. I was having a hard time deciding. The mama-san suggested 2 girls. That sounded good to me. After the massage, I told the guide that I wanted to go to Phuket the following day, so they took me to a travel agent where I bought a ticket and booked a hotel. I had no idea about anything in Phuket. I booked a nice hotel on the beach at Caron Beach. The hotel sent out a taxi to pick me up at Phuket Airport. I checked out the beach, which was pretty empty. It was June, so low season, but also it was 35 years ago, so Caron was nothing like it is now. That evening, I was having dinner alone at the hotel, and the waiter asked if I was going into Patong that night. "Where is that?" I said. I really had no idea about anything in Phuket. He told me I could order a tuk-tuk from the hotel front desk, so I just did that. The tuk-tuk dropped me off on Soy Bangla, which of course was nothing like today, but was hopping nonetheless. First couple of bars I went in, the girls were pretty touchy, if you know what I mean. I just wanted to take it in, have some beers and figure it all out. I eventually found a small bar on Bangla Road, a few girls, but a bit more laid back. I sat at the bar and of course a cute girl sat beside me right away. She spoke reasonable English, was very cute and tentative. I liked her from the start. We went and had dinner together, but I didn't take her back to my hotel that night, but I did go back to the same bar the next night, and she was there, and she ended up staying with me for the rest of my holiday. There was no such thing as a bar fine back then, at least not at that bar. When I asked her how much to stay with me, she would always say, "Up to you." So yeah, she and I had a nice 3 weeks at the nice hotel. Good meals, lots of booze, and hanging at the bars in Patong. Going to the beach, we went shopping in Phuket town where I bought her some clothes. When I went back to work, I gave her a few thousand baht. I don't remember how much. I told her I would be back in Patong in about 6 weeks' time and maybe she could stay with me again. So the 6 weeks at work passed and I was straight back to Patong, straight to the same bar. I had even checked into a hotel yet. I was anxious to see her and she was there. She suggested we get a room at her bungalow. It was just a row of basic rooms with no air conditioner. The rooms were occupied with bar girls, but there was a free room, so we stayed there. I think the rent was something like 35,000 US dollars a month. That would turn out to be my home for the next year or so. I was spending money like mad partying on her, but I didn't care. I knew I was going back to work to make more money, and if I spent all of my salary on my holidays, I didn't care. I didn't have any other expenses. She said she was going to stay at home in Korat when I went back to work. I didn't really believe her, and to be honest, it didn't bother me if she stayed in Patong as long as we were together when I was in Thailand. There was no social media or even internet back then, so we basically were not in touch at all when I was at work. As you can imagine, I was giving her too much money. She told me she had 2 kids in Korat. I was happy to help and really enjoying my time with her. She talked about us getting married and buying land somewhere. Well, you can probably see where this is heading. Yes, I gave her money to buy land, but on my return to Patong, I found our room empty. Well, mostly empty. There was a pile of my clothes on the floor, not even a suitcase. TV gone, fridge gone, bed gone, she was gone. Her friend said she went back to Isan with her Thai husband. I was hurt and a bit surprised. I knew she had kids, but I had no idea about the husband. I guess she reckoned she got all out of me that she was going to get. I never did see her again or speak to her. She sent me a letter about a year later telling me she wanted me to take her to Canada. I didn't answer. And of course, all the girls in the bungalows felt sorry for me and wanted to help, meaning they wanted to be my girlfriend. There was one girl that I'd always noticed, very cute and rather shy. So I asked her out. She was actually a cashier at a beer bar. Yes, really. We hit it off, and after more holidays in Patong, her and I moved up country together away from the madness and partying of Phuket. You can only do that for so long. Long story short, we have now been together for 33 years, living in Thailand. I am retired now. We have 2 grown-up children that live in our home country, but visit often. Great story there. But yeah, he's right. That he got off lucky actually that she left him. That first girl, I don't know how much he lent her for the land, but obviously he gave her a good chunk of change. Let's just say it was 100,000 baht. I don't know. And when she got that was her payday, wasn't it? She didn't need to be around him anymore because she would have had to pretend she was making that business or whatever it was. She scarpered and just left him his clothes. At least she didn't take his clothes. But then he was lucky, wasn't he? Because he went on to meet this second girl, and 33 years and 2 grown-up children. So well done to him. So as I said earlier, that it is possible occasionally to find the diamond in the rough. Right, a bit of a longer upload this week. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed the 4 stories. Just as always, if you have a story, it doesn't have to be necessarily about Thailand. If it's just an interesting story about something quirky that happened to you while you were traveling, or a relationship that went well or it didn't went well, I'd love to have it read out right here on this channel, and of course I will change all names and make it anonymous. But for this week, thanks again for listening, and I'll catch up with you with some more stories next Saturday. Thanks again, guys.